good life. Thank you for stopping by. I'm Patrick Harney, as always. A proud member of the M-Pods Network on YouTube. And, oh man, I got a good episode today. I got a really, really good episode today. His name is Jeff Carek. And this man he and his wife last year, earlier in the year, took a bike trip 720 miles in 10 days to Washington, D.C. to help raise awareness for police mental health and police suicide. So that's all I'm going to say. We need to just jump into this. I'm sorry. But before we do that, here's a another segment of EJ's thoughts. Go ahead, EJ.
Hey guys, this is EJ with another EJ's Thoughts. So today I want to talk about a radio show I listen to. Every day at work I try to listen to them. They have a 4-hour show in the morning called Free Beer and Hot Wings. They're nationally syndicated. There are over 50 radio stations that host these guys. They have a charity that's going on, and part of it is if you sign up to become what they call as a fancy idiot, you can listen to their podcasts, and they also have another segment after the radio show every day, which is really cool to listen to too. But also, part of the money goes towards another charity. And this charity provides Christmas for people in need. And now is the time of year where, in my heart, in my family's heart, where we try to give back as much as we can. Now, we aren't rich. We don't have a lot of money. But we do what we can. We'll donate clothes. For instance, the shop right next to us has little cards on it with families with kids that can't afford toys for their kids. So we went out and spent some money on some kids, and it makes you feel good about yourself. But you also got to think, man, we're here in America. Times are f***ing tough right now. If you got the extra money, or you can afford it, or even if you have old clothes in your drawer, you can donate. It's a good time to do that. It's a good time to give back. Not only do you get to feel good about yourself, but also the people that are receiving these gifts are going to be super grateful.
Thank you, EJ. And let's get into the show. All right, Jeff, thank you very much for being here.
Hey, it's my pleasure. My pleasure.
So I wanted to have you on because, well, for one, we met on set of there was this, I guess you could call it a training video for this company called MILO, and which you work for. You are a training content specialist. So tell me a little bit about, or tell the viewers and the listeners a little bit about what MILO does and what these training videos that I was there to help make do.
All right. So MILO is a simulation company. We're a tech company. We provide services to federal, state, and local law enforcement, as well as the military. We also provide simulators around the world to other militaries and law enforcement agencies. So we're a worldwide corporation, very small, about 35 people total in the entire company. Wow. What we do is we build, for lack of a better description, super huge video games. But instead of computer graphics, you're seeing live human beings via video. So we film scenarios, and then we go back and re-edit them into live role play simulations. So an instructor has the ability to branch down verbal branches, or the student in front of the system uses a laser device and can activate it. So a laser gun, a laser taser, those types of devices. So that's like the most simplest version of it, I guess.
Now it's changed over the last few years, because a few years ago, I had done a couple videos for them, and it was called Milo Range Action Training. Now it's got a little bit different name, correct?
Correct. It's now Milo Live Virtual and Cognitive. So we build live fire simulators. We build virtual simulators that use the laser devices like I spoke of. And then Cognitive, which is the group that I'm a part of now, where we actually work with our customers as well as with our internal assets to develop new training content, new scenarios, different types of training, like what you were involved in a few weeks ago, which is a counter bias training program that we're working with Washington State University on. They provide training. They use a MILO system. It's all verbal, and at the end, based on what the student does, the instructor has the ability to pick a good outcome, a neutral outcome, or a bad outcome, to kind of show the student what their decisions, how that forced things to happen on the back end of a call for service. So they train 911 operators with it.
Wow. Okay. And why is this type of training so important, and why is it so effective compared to your standard, and I'm not sure, I'm no expert as to what what training was in years past, but why, I imagine it'd be different. So why is it effective, or is it more effective now?
So we'll talk about a couple of different training modalities. First of all, the most common one for police training forever and a day has been type of like a force on force or role playing training. That's where you have a role player and you have an officer going through the training. One of the drawbacks to role playing training is that if the role player changes the script just slightly, each officer that goes through has a different, receives a different level of training. So in that script change could be something as simple as inflection, word, physical posturing, facial expressions. One little change in those items can change the outcome, what the officer does. With simulation training like what we do, there's no ability for those to change. We videotape it. Every student who goes through sees the exact same scenario. They see the exact same body language, the same voice inflections, the same expressions on the face. There's no changes in those things. One of the other issues with role playing is it's expensive. I have a student, I have to have a safety officer, and I have to have a role player. It takes 3 people to train a student, including the student at that point. With the simulator, I need a operator to run the simulator and the student, so I can take one person out of the equation immediately. The other thing that a simulator allows us to do is do training very quickly. The simulator set up in a room. I can cycle officers in and out very quickly, beginning of a shift, mid-shift, end of shift, or set up an entire training day. With role player style training, we have to set aside time, basically a whole day all the time in order to do it. You're not going to do 15-minute vignette training trainings with role players. It's just too what's the word I'm looking for?
It seems inefficient,
Yeah, it's a lot of people, a lot of time in order to do it. So we can take those things and speed up the training.
Okay. Well, and it was cool because when I was there a couple of years ago, we had filmed those videos at the facility, and I got to see and actually go through, after we got done filming, I got to go through some of the training myself, and it's really cool. I mean, it's, like well, and I know there's more to it now, but what it was then was, there was like these screens that it's, you know, almost a 360-degree, you know, thing. And you're standing there and you're watching everything and you're going through everything and you got to make the decisions and you have to do them quickly. You know, it's crazy. It's really cool, but it gives you a sense of, I mean, if you go through that, it gives you
it's a total
exactly, totally immersive. And it
immersion.
Yeah. And it gives you at least a small sense of some of the things that police officers have to go through and have to deal with every day, in terms of how quickly they have to make their decisions.
Correct. We're some of the stuff that you probably went through a few years ago, we're changing the way we're developing scenarios, and we're adding a lot more verbal interaction to the front end of that, which allows the instructor to the student to interact with the screen and the instructor to give answers back. So that we can really see what's going on in the student's mind prior to forcing them to make a use of force decision or a compliance. It allows the student to really become much more interactive and immersed into the scenarios now. So we're working forward from what you've seen just a few years ago now.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, is this something that is kind of is this something that is now kind of taking hold in police departments and, you know, all across the country now, or is this still is it difficult to get this to other departments now?
No, not at all. Actually, you know, computer simulators have been around since MILO's been around 24 years. I went through the police academy in 1996, and we used a system called FATS, which was Firearms Training System. And at that time, all the scenarios were on laser discs. So the very similar technology, very similar style scenarios. We are just now we can run off of a laptop on a single screen system. There's no laser discs to install and uninstall and to choose from. So technology has come forward and it's allowed the systems to get smaller, more accurate, faster, more realistic in some of those terms. Back on a FATS machine, you press the button as the instructor and the system ran through a scenario. It's pretty much a straight line scenario every time. Every once in a while, there was the ability to make something different happen, but now we can have 20 or 30, 100 branches in a scenario if we so desire to do that and film it that way.
Jeez, that's awesome. That seems I mean, obviously it gives more options or more, you know, different ways, different situations that cops may have to, you know, face every day. And well, I mean, that's great. Now, one thing I feel like though would, and this could be being used now. I'm not sure. Again, I'm no expert on it, but like the VR stuff, the virtual reality, you know, with the Oculus and, you know, getting all that stuff. Is any of that stuff used at all? Because I had gone to a studio that wasn't related to any of this, but I knew a guy that they had just opened. It's actually here in Lansing, and I was able to put this helmet on and put these goggles on, really, and I've got my quote unquote weapon, you know, and I'm going through this, and I had to like save these people in a hostage situation. And I had this whole big room that I could move around in, you know, and somebody was guiding me so I didn't run into a wall. But that was really, really cool. And I feel like that would be super effective for police training as well. I mean, am I correct in assuming that?
There's some companies that are working on VR right now. We are not currently involved in a VR production situation. I'm limited as what I can speak to about that because of what goes on in the industry. But I can tell you that, yes, VR is being used to train. The effectiveness of it is still being vetted out at this point in time. There's some really good things with VR, as you well know. I can change the environment immediately with the click of a button. I can take you from a forest in Germany to a burned out building in the Middle East to Washington, D.C. just by pressing buttons.
Yeah.
That's really good. Some of the problems with VR as it stands right now is that the majority of your characters are avatars. So you lose some realism with an avatar. Avatars don't have micro expressions. Their body language is subject to what is programmed by the graphics designer. So there's some things that don't occur with VR that we still get with simulations. There's some advantages to simulations in that I can change the environment immediately. So where will it land? We're looking at it through several different sets of glasses. I can't tell you that that's something that we'll be involved in at any point in the near future. I know there are companies currently in the United States selling VR systems to police agencies, and they're doing a good job at selling it. I have not personally had my hands on one to see how realistic it is.
Okay.
So
that is an interesting point, though. I guess I didn't think about that, about the whole microaggressions and the body language hints, and being able to see all of those little details about somebody. That's interesting. I didn't think about that. What do you think about what's going on in LA right now? Oh my gosh, it's an absolute nightmare.
So give me what you're talking about. I will be honest with you. After 25 years of law enforcement, working in law enforcement, I do not read or watch a whole lot of news. I like to be a little blissful in my world. I get hit enough, like, what just occurred in Oxford, Michigan, has been batted around in front of me. I've had people, hey, how are you doing because of that? And I'm like, well, I'm fine because I wasn't there. It didn't really affect me personally the way it may have affected a lot of other people who were there. But so that type of stuff. So fill me in on what's going on in LA, and I'll try and give you a straight answer.
Yeah, with LA, I mean, they it was reported recently that California now, they have the strictest gun laws in the United States, and since then there's just like robberies and killings happening all over the place, and their police department had been defunded by $150 million, and they, like, I watched a video of these. It was like a security camera from this restaurant. This gentleman and these two women were sitting outside eating their food out in the front, in the front patio or whatever of this place. And these two guys roll up on them, one of them with a gun, just pointing at them, and they just take their stuff, their bags and all this stuff, and they just go. And even one of the, I don't know what his position is in the police department, but he had said, he went on the news and he had said, he goes, I'm sorry, he said, but I'm encouraging people not to come and visit here because we can't protect you. Like, straight up just said that.
I think, I'll be honest, I think that's sad.
Yeah.
It's sad that we've gotten to the point in America where, this is my personal opinion, so I have to separate that from everything else.
Of course.
I believe that we've gotten to a point in America where a criminal's rights are more important than the rights of somebody who's just been victimized. If you're the victim of a crime, the person who caused the physical, mental, emotional damage to you is treated better than you are as the victim. And we've gotten to a point in America where that's okay. It's okay for the victim to be not taken care of, but we're going to make sure that the person who committed the crime, that everything goes according to the book for them. And I'm not saying that things shouldn't go according to the book, but they definitely have more rights and more representation than the victims do. And that's sad. And it's not just LA. Quite honestly, that is the situation throughout the US right now. With my prior position with MILO, I traveled all over the country, and having grown up in the greater Cleveland area and lived in the greater Detroit area for the majority of my entire adult life, I thought Detroit was kind of a rough town and had some edges to it. But I've been to places lately that made me emotionally checked me, just really took the breath away from me. I saw some things that I didn't really know could exist in our country and in wealthy areas. I was in Washington, D.C. not too long ago, and we'll get to that, I'm sure, in a little while. But I was taken aback by the amount of people struggling to have housing and their basic needs met within 5 blocks of the Capitol building, where some of the richest people in the United States of America work on a daily basis, where people who make policy, who push forward agendas, just walk past this every day. And that took me aback. And it really, we're not doing things right in a lot of ways here. We're missing the boat. We let victims not have advocates, and we let people who need our assistance not get it. We give the assistance to people who don't need it, who honestly don't deserve it in some cases.
Yeah.
So,
well, and isn't
trying
that
not
just
to get political here?
No, it's okay. It's all right. But I mean, like, isn't that just so telling? 5 blocks from the Capitol building, there's people severely struggling, and I mean, look at the homelessness problem in California, where, I mean, it's like Venice Beach now, I guess, and I haven't been there in a few years, but I guess I guess I've been told that if I were to go back now, I wouldn't recognize any of it, and to me, there's so much focus on like fighting with each other, when really I feel like it's not necessarily the right versus the left. It's more so like the people versus the government. You know what I mean? It's like
it's
nobody's looking out for anything.
I know exactly what you mean. So I can speak to Venice Beach. I was there just 18 months ago. And it's a homeless encampment from north to south and south to, north to south and south to north. It's crazy. I was just in Oakland less than a month ago, and Oakland's homeless population I'd never seen anything like it in my life. I had flown a bicycle out there with me, and I'd ridden around all over Oakland and was just mesmerized by the amount of not just tents, but small condominiums built out of tarps and scraps, and the amount of rubbish left after people have moved out of one spot and into another. And I agree. I think America has gotten to the point where the far left and the far right have pushed everybody to make a decision right down the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And that's created a division that doesn't allow us to really look at the way things are being represented, the way things are in our country. I'll give my political belief. I believe certain things on one side of the line, and I have firm beliefs on the other side of the line. I'm a firm believer that 51% of America sits right in the middle, but allows the other 49% outlying edges to control what everybody else says. And that's 24.5% on one side and 24.5% on the other side. Why can't the middle of America figure out that these two little pieces really don't matter at the end of the day? They're the actual minority.
Well, it's because they're the loudest. That's why they're the loudest. And when it's getting pushed in your face and pushed in your face, and also when you get bullied into, when you feel like you can't have an opinion on anything, because somebody starts labeling you as this, that, and the other thing. It's like then people don't want to speak.
I would agree. I would agree with that. So,
and it's sad. It's very sad. And I hope things change. I hope people wake up, and I hope the people that it seems as though just want to take everybody down. I hope they lose some of the power that they have seemed to have gathered, because it's unhealthy, and we need some help. But we'll find there. We'll find it. I think there's more than enough people that still believe in, in the good and care about the well-being of this country. And I hope we'll get back to that.
I think we will. I think we're working that way. We're working our way back to healthiness.
Yeah, for sure.
It'll be slow, but there for sure.
Yeah. Now you mentioned taking a bike out to Oakland. So this is a good segue to the next conversation that I know you're excited to talk about. And it's funny because when I had approached you on the set about talking about Milo range and all this stuff, you're like, well, actually, I'd really like to talk about this also. Like, this is closer to my heart. And so you and your wife started I Got Your Six, and you guys took a bicycle trip 720 miles in 10 days.
Yes.
Did you just each lose 50 pounds doing that or something? Like, that's insane.
I think we both lost a couple of pounds. I've found all of those and a couple more since getting back, but that's just the cycle of life. We a year ago, actually, it was right about this time a year ago, I had looked at my wife and said, you know what, I really, really want to do something about trying to bring awareness to police mental health and the suicide issues that plague my prior profession. And she said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to do something stupid. I want to ride our bikes I want to ride to Washington, D.C. just to make a point. And she's like, why Washington, D.C.? And I'm like, that's where all the people that make the rules and the laws and look at this stuff, that's where they're at. And I'm like, I just want to ride to Washington, D.C. And I said, and there's another reason I want to ride to Washington, D.C. I said, I want to ride to Washington, D.C. because that's where the police memorial's at. And that's the police memorial is kind of like the Vietnam Wall for police officers, right? If you die in the line of service or in the line of duty, your name's put on the wall. Well, the people whose names don't make it to the wall are those people who die at their own hand, police officers who take their own lives. And I'm like, I want to ride there because I think that's BS, to put it bluntly. And I think it'd be cool, on top of it. We're both avid cyclists, and I'm like, I think it'll be pretty killer. So we sat on it a little bit, and then like I don't know, January 2nd or something of this year, I made a Facebook post on my personal Facebook page. We're riding to Washington, D.C. We're going to leave from Toledo, ride to Washington, D.C. and take the train home. And then we sat around and I'm like, well, why would we start in Toledo when we live in Michigan? So then we decided, screw it, we're going to ride from Detroit and we're going to start right in front of the Detroit Police Headquarters just because. And so we did. And at the end of August of this year, we got on our bikes with about 30 of our friends and they rode the first 30-ish miles with us down to Lake Erie Metro Park. They turned around and rode back to Detroit. And for the next 10 days, we pedaled towards Washington, D.C., battling 90 to 110 degree weather the first couple of days. And then a hurricane that decided to blow through the upper mid-Atlantic while we were heading that direction. We had a very good route planned out with very specific stops to make sure that we could do this. We missed some time hacks, but we pedaled on and we finished in 10 days and rolled into the mall right in front of the Lincoln Memorial at about 9:30 at night, the 10th day. And that last day was a 97-mile day for us on the bikes.
A 97-mile day?
Yes. So, and to put this into perspective, we carried all of our own gear. So we camped about half of the nights that we were there. Actually, we camped 6 nights and we stayed in hotels or bed and breakfasts for 4 nights. So we had camping gear, tent, stove, food. The bicycles, when we left out of Michigan, weighed roughly 75 pounds apiece. The weekend before we left, we did a shakedown ride of our equipment, and we rode up to a professional bicycle race that was going on in Detroit, where some of my friends were racing. And when we rolled up on our bikes, my one buddy's like, let me pick that thing up. He picked it up and he goes, you're not pedaling this thing all the way to Washington, D.C. And I'm like, bet. That thing's going all the way to DC, exactly how you see it. And we did. We talked to about 60 people over the course of our 10 days about what we were doing. We had stickers made up. We'll hashtag. We had some custom jerseys made up that, said, I got your 6 tour on it. It had the route on it and said, we're pedaling to bring awareness about police suicide. So we talked to some people and they're like, really, that's really cool. I think, we're not viral in any way sense of that term, but we've got about 600 followers on our Facebook page right now. And surprise, surprise, in April of this year, we're going to leave our home in Ferndale and we're going to ride to New York City for the same purpose. And if we cut through Canada, the route is 865 miles roughly. If we go through Ohio, because we can't cross the Canadian border, then the route is 900 miles. Wow. And we're going to take 14 days to do that.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, you're going to definitely need some more days for that.
Yeah, we'll need a couple more days for it. So that's the plan. It's, this is the first place that's hearing about it getting announced. We're going to wait till the first of the year to throw it out there and put it out. But yeah, I Got Your 6 tour is going to go international this year. Next Monday, I have a Zoom meeting with Survivors of Blue Suicide, which is a nonprofit that provides services to include outreach and like pamphlets and places that you can go for help if you've lost a family member, either a blood family member or a blue family member to suicide. And they put on a couple of different retreats yearly, both for blood and blue families, so that people can go and talk to people who are suffering from, who are grieving the loss of a partner from work or a partner in life to suicide. I really haven't explained why this is important to me, so I will do that now. I lost 2 partners over the course of my career to suicide. One while I was on the job, I can tell you exactly where I was parked and who was in the car with me when I was told. And the other one was shortly after I retired. I was on a training trip in Guam, and I got a Facebook message from one of my old partners. And when I didn't even read the message. I saw who it was from, and I already knew what it was about. And I immediately called, and we were on like a 23-hour difference or something. And I'm like, what the hell happened? And he explained to me, and so, I've lost 2 partners. Plus I know 4 other people, police officers that I either worked with directly or indirectly over the course of my career. So I have 6 losses to suicide over the course of my career. And that's just the very tip of an iceberg when you get down to the brass tacks. We talk about our military members, 22 military members every day taking their lives. But we don't talk about the people that keep us safe at home, and their loss of lives. And it's sad because of the way it's treated within the law enforcement realm. It's looked down upon. People still have the mythological belief that it's a selfish act, or that the person was weak and they just couldn't do the things they needed to do, which is basically, pull your bootstraps up and get back out there, put the pads back on and get in the game, Buster. That's what you signed up for.
Mm-hmm.
So we're really trying to make some noise as we started this project. We're continuing to try to make noise about it and bring more people into the fold, and make it a forefront story, not something that sits on the 10th or last page of the daily rag that comes out. Yeah. So,
well,
I'm pretty passionate about it.
Yeah, no, and I commend what you guys are doing. That's amazing. And if there's anything I could do to help support, and I am more than willing to do it, and please let me know. And I do mean that. And also I want to get one of those shirts. I want to get some merch and wear it on the show, and wear it around and help promote.
I might be able to I might be able to fly you something. I've got a couple little things laying around left over from last year. We're going to do a different t-shirt. We did t-shirts last year. We're going to do a different t-shirt this year. It's going to be more like a concert shirt. It's going to have a check off of every city that we're going to go through. Last year, we tried to get some media behind it. We got WDIV Channel 4 out of Detroit, did a little blurb for us. Obviously, I'm going to reach back out on that. You're doing exactly what I need to be done. We talked, you brought it up. We're here talking about it. It's going to hit your viewership. Maybe somebody's going to reach out from there. You can find us at I Got Your Six tour on Facebook. That's the only place we're at. We don't have a huge web hit. We're working on some things. We're working to make it bigger and better. The ultimate goal at some point is to be able to take officers who are currently working, who are struggling with, actually, they don't even have to be currently working, retired or currently working, who are struggling mentally, and take them out and show them different ways to deal with the demons that my family in blue deals with on a daily basis. How to go out and use the skills that you were taught, that you honed over a career, and use those skills to get that stuff settled down in you. I had dinner with a friend the other night. He's still working, and we were talking about this, and I said, there's one thing that you learned as a cop more than anything else. And everybody's like, oh yeah, that's shooting a gun or driving a car fast or all the stuff that looks fun and exciting. And I'm like, no, You're an author. Before you do anything else, at the end of the day, you have to write a report. And you have honed writing skills that, you know, Shakespeare has those types of writing skills. Good cops are good authors. I can write something, paint a picture of what I saw, what I smelled, what I heard, and you can read it off of that paper and you can live it vividly. Why we don't use that in our after police or outside of police work lives, I don't know. But if you go back and you look at last year's ride or this past ride, every day that we were on the bike, every day for 10 days, I picked a term or a word that somehow came up over the course of the ride. And I spun that into a small vignette about life. And it really helped. Those 10 days that I rode, it got a lot out of me. A lot of things that were bouncing around in my head got out on paper. And when we finished, about 3 days went past and I started getting Facebook messages and text messages from people who know me personally. And they're like, hey, when's your next piece of wisdom coming out? And I'm like, you got to understand that wisdom comes from riding a bicycle for 10 hours a day when all the only thing you have, I had my beautiful wife with me, but beyond that is all I had were my thoughts. And I'm like, I would love to be able to do this every day, but I'm not that good. I have to be like, when I'm riding, I can see things. I see something and I'm like, or I think of something and I can build a whole story around that. And that's one of the things that I'd like to really work with our officers to do, is to be able to use that one thing that we have when we leave there. We leave with the ability to write, and to be able to write that stuff down and then kind of store it away. And if we need to revisit it, we can go to the paper and revisit it. We don't have to revisit it in our mind in many different formats and remember it 1,000 different ways. We can go back and read it and go, yeah, that's what I meant. That's what I saw. That's what I heard. That's what I felt on this day. And, you know, so I've got some stuff in my head. I don't know how good it's going to come out at the end of the day, but we're working on some things, and I would love to partner with you and see, you know, we already are at this point.
Yeah.
I'm like, Patrick's in my circle on this, so I'm good.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, no, and I can guarantee you as well that that we will be talking about this on Attack on Show as well. And we have over 1,000 is it close to 1,700 subscribers on YouTube, and then I'll be sharing it to my personal page, or my show's page and my personal page as well, just to try to get it out there and get as many people's eyes on it as possible, because it's important, and the fact that it's not more talked about, you know, is it's tough. So yeah, we'll be getting it out there.
It is. Not just in to plug this, about 3 weeks ago, well, shortly after our video shoot, I was on a panel with the University of Michigan, Gerald R. Ford School of Policy, talking about police mental health. And they filmed it and put it up on YouTube. So that's out there. If you want to hear a little bit more, it was myself, another former coworker of mine who is going to school at U of M, working on her master's degree in public policy, and a social worker who works with first responders in the Metro Detroit area, and then a lady who works for the university was the mediator for the panel. And we had a 1 hour discussion about police mental health and what can we do policy wise to kind of fix some of the shortcomings that are out there. So it's definitely starting to pick up steam and is going to move forward. Hopefully we can have an avalanche at some point. Right now, it feels like we're a couple of pieces of sand getting blown across the beach, but I'm hoping that we can have like an avalanche off of Everest at some point.
Yes, yes. And that's the thing, it takes time to build stuff, but when you come at it with a lens of when you come at it with the authenticity of just trying to help people, and and that's it. That's your only agenda behind it, is just to help people. When there's stuff like that, it'll get there. You know what I mean? When there's no hidden agenda, anything that's got any sort of hidden agenda, it usually fails, and it falls because it's seen for what it really is. And so when you have something pure like this, you'll get there. It'll take some time, it'll take some work, but you'll get there, and it'll be worth it. So thank you for the work that you are doing and that you have done in your previous career as well.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. It means a lot. That's authentic from you. And I was reading this the other day. There's this term that every cop hates, and it's thank you for your service. And the term that's right after that every cop hates more than that is, you signed up for this. Yeah, I did. You don't need to remind me of that. And you surely don't need to thank me, because there aren't very many officers out there who didn't sign up to do the job to be thanked. They signed up to do the job because they wanted to. They honestly, the most genuine part of them is there to help people and to try to make life better for people at the end of the day. Unfortunately, it's not being painted that way currently. And, it'll take a while, but we'll get there. And I honestly, thank you very much. Thanks for having me. This was kind of, when I went home and told my wife, I'm like, hey, I met this guy. He's an actor. He's got a bunch of stuff going on. He wants to have me on his podcast. She's like, have you even watched his podcast? I'm like, I listened to it all the way home. A couple of different episodes. So, right. Good. And I'm like, hell yeah, I want to do this.
Well, great. So, yeah, man. Thanks for being here.
I like the way you're attacking stuff. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. You got any big Christmas plans?
No. Well, yeah, kind of Christmas-ish. Kids will come over, and then we're going to kick them out of the house. And then we have adult children, obviously.
Just kicking some 4-year-olds out of the house.
Yeah, get out of here. Yeah.
Go get a job.
Junior. Go get a job. You got to do something. No, last year we started this little Christmas tradition, after Christmas tradition. So initially I would have been sitting in our van doing this with you, because we're a couple of van lifers, part-timers. Last year we drove down to North Carolina to Pisgah National Forest, and we spent New Year's Eve camping out under the stars in a national forest in the van. About 5-6 days. We decided not to van life this year, but my wife and I are flying down to Savannah, Georgia, and we're going to spend a couple of days in Savannah. Then we're going to get on a boat, and it's going to take us to some island just off the coast of Georgia, where we're going to camp and hang out with a bunch of people we don't know for New Year's Eve on some crazy island, have a New Year's Eve party there, and then they're going to bring us back to the mainland and spend a couple more days in Savannah, checking it out, since neither of us have been down there before. That's it. What about yourself? Anything
that's
good
awesome.
Going?
That's awesome. Yeah, I've got, let's see, on Christmas Eve, I'm going to be spending the day with my girlfriend's family. And then Christmas Day, I don't know if I'll be Christmas Day. I don't think I'll really be doing a whole lot, because the day after Christmas, my family's going to be all getting together, and all of my my four siblings or my three siblings, I should say. There's four of us, and my parents, my uncle's going to be there. All of my nieces and nephews, which is like 12 of them or 13 of them now. I don't know. I lost track after like 7. And so, yeah, so they're all going to be there. And yeah, we're just going to have a good time and just hang out, so it'll be fun. It's always good family time. So I always look forward to that. But,
that's good. Yeah.
and then New Year's, I think New Year's Eve I'm working. I've worked like the last 4 New Year's Eve or whatever, because I bartend also, and so yeah, so that'll be a big night for that. But well, hey Jeff, before we wrap up the show, I just want to get into a little segment called The Goods. Just a few rapid fire questions, pick your brain a little bit, and
Fire away.
Yeah, so we'll get to it here. Number 1, if you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you go and how long?
Easy. Italy for the rest of my life.
Really?
So real quick, I'll hit back. Probably not for the rest of my life, because I do like the U.S. My wife and I are both on our mother's sides are Sicilian. We had planned to go there in 2020 for a 3-week trip. We had everything planned, paid for, done, and then the pandemic hit, and then we had to go back and collect all of our money back from everybody. So we haven't had a chance to get back to plan it. We're still planning to go. One of the things that we're probably going to do at some point is a friend of mine just did this. He's able to draw his heritage back to Italy before anybody was a U.S. citizen. And you can have dual citizenship in Italy if you can do that. So I'm in the process of trying to figure out when my great-grandparents were naturalized as U.S. citizens and when my grandmother was born. Because if my grandmother was born before they were U.S. citizens, then we can go to Italy and become Italian citizens and have dual citizenship. So hold 2 passports.
Really? That's cool. I did not know that was a thing.
So I didn't know it was a thing either till I saw a friend of mine talking about it, and I'm like, I got to check into this. So yeah, that's the answer to number 1. What's number 2?
All right, number 2. What's your favorite Christmas movie?
Oh, so it depends on which one you consider a Christmas movie. A Christmas Story is number 1, always will be in my heart.
Oh,
and the reason for that is I'm a Cleveland kid through and through, and it was filmed in Cleveland. A bunch of the cars that were used in that movie were cars owned by friends of my father's, because my dad built hot rods back in the day. So a bunch of the cars that were used in that movie were cars that were owned by friends of ours. Number 2 movie is Die Hard.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
it's really not good.
Dude, okay, you have no idea. There has been this massive debate right now amongst myself, my co-host Rob for Attack on Show, and then the boys over at the TFG podcast about whether, and literally the last Attack on Show episode that just came out yesterday, we talked about our top Christmas movies and whether Die Hard was a Christmas movie. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna have to watch that movie again. I'm gonna have to watch it again because this is ridiculous.
It's only a Christmas movie because it was a Christmas party that everybody was at when it happened.
See, like, come on. There was I sent them a meme today. Where is it? I sent them a meme today that it was a picture Here, let's see if I can show it. Here, let's see if that's it. Girlfriend, how is this?
I gotta do this. It's not a snow.
So basically playing on the fact that, like, just because there's snow, oh, does that make it a Christmas movie?
Exactly.
So yeah, it's, I mean, whatever, man. You know, you can have your opinion.
I'm just telling. But I told you my number one is A Christmas Story.
That's true. That's true.
But if there's got to be a number two, it's Die Hard.
Okay. Then let me ask you this.
So,
if Die Hard is a Christmas movie, is Lethal Weapon a Christmas movie?
yeah, absolutely could be.
Okay. You know
It
what?
all happened
I
at Christmas. That's what.
I respect the hell out of that answer, because there's been people that are like, no, it's not. It's completely different. But no, if you're staying true to that, and I appreciate that.
They ended up at Roger Murtaugh's house for Christmas dinner after all of that craziness went on, and it all happened around Christmas. It's a Christmas movie.
All right. Boom. You hear
There you
that,
go.
Rob? You hear that, Jeff? Yeah. Jeff Cap, Brandon. Yeah. Boom. All right. And then my final question is, how do you stay grounded and centered in your day-to-day life?
I ride my bicycle.
Mm.
Honestly, my almost my entire life has revolved around riding a bicycle. From the time I could ride a bicycle, it's my peace. And if I can't have if I don't have the ability to ride my bicycle, then just having my best friend and partner in crime, my wife, there with me, those two things. She does a really, really good job of keeping me where I need to be focused and everything else. But if I'm having a really, really shitty day or shitty time, she will flat out be like, you better get out of here and get on that bike. And I can go ride 15, 20 miles and come back and have a whole new perspective on everything that was going on. So it's the bicycle does it for me.
Well, and it's amazing how, like, physical exercise can change someone's mental state, you know. Gets the blood pumping. Yeah, that's good. Well, Jeff, thank you very much for being here. It was a pleasure to have you on.
It was my pleasure to be here.
And I can't wait to follow the tour, and I can't wait to get the word out more. So thank you very much. Right. And please, when you're done with that tour, and I mean this, please, when you're done, come back on the show, because I want to hear all about it, and I want to hear all the stories that you got. So
I will. It'll be this one's going to be a different ride, so for sure I will. We keep in touch, and I will chat with you here in probably a couple of weeks and a couple of months. So,
all right,
cool,
great. Thanks, Jeff.
All right, thanks, man. Hey, you have a great holiday.
Thank you. You too. All right, and that wraps up this episode of The Good Life. Thank you all for being here and for listening. Thank you to Jeff for coming on. I really appreciate being able to have had that conversation with him. He's a great guy. And make sure to check out I Got Your Six on Facebook. Make sure to like it, share it, and support, you know. So yeah, that's all I got. We'll see you next week.